Do you actually realise that the UK minimum wage is set at £12.21 an hour, and more than likely that will actually go up this year? Now, some decorators, and I will use the term decorator, but I'm also talking to anybody else who's in the building trade and also anybody that's running a small business that's watching this video, because we are talking about what you should be charging and actually what you could be earning in 2026. But for the purpose of this video, let's make it clear we're talking about decorators, because I am a decorator. I am Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator on YouTube, and I just want people to realise what their potential could be. So I'm going to be talking about decorators, and decorators, there are some that are more than likely not realising what they're actually earning, and they could be easily earning minimum wage or even less. So let's talk about what decorators should really be charging in 2026. Now let's touch on the reality of this. Skill levels vary, you've got qualifications vary, speed varies between people, and also areas can vary. And a lot of decorators are working for customers who clearly don't want to pay very much at all. But none of that changes the maths of running a business. Hello and welcome everybody. This is Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator on YouTube, and you can see from the thumbnail, you can see by the title of the video, and you can probably clearly see from this intro what we're going to be talking about. And we're talking about that minimum wage of £12.21 an hour for somebody who's actually an employee. Now that's somebody who's working on the books, proper PAYE, that's pay as you earn. So £12.21 an hour for an employee with holidays paid. You've got sick pay, and when I mean holidays paid, you're actually not taking you with a TUI flight, but you're actually holiday allowances paid. You've got your sick pay taken into account. You've got no overheads. You've got no van. You've got no tools. You've got no insurance. You've got no quoting, and you've got no headache with the admin side of running a business. So if you're self-employed and your day rate is actually working out less than what that £12.21 an hour would be giving you, you're not running a business, you're only just surviving. And let's be honest, what's the biggest cost of actually being self-employed? And we're going to be talking about where do decorators get caught out, but that is also people who are in the building trade and people who are running a small business, and they're not actually accounting for everything that their business is actually costing, i.e. the running costs. And I'm going to say to you, and you've probably heard me mention it before, false accounting, cooking the books. And you're going to say, what do you mean, Phil? You've got to make sure that everything that you are spending to keep your business going, your overheads, is actually allocated for, and you're actually allowing for it. So what do the costs end up being? What are the things that are costing you on your business? You've probably got a van, you've got your fuel, you've got your tools, you've got your consumables, you've also got insurance. You've got to allow for that holiday time that you want to spend with your family that you're not going to be earning. Likewise, sick days. What happens if those occur for you? You've got to allow for that as well. You might have those dead days, and I'm not on about dropping dead, heaven forbid. I'm on about the time that you've got probably a little bit of a blank spot in your diary or your schedule that happens for one reason or another, where somebody might actually just last minute drop out on you when you're actually expecting to be working for them. But that's what we call a dead day, sometimes when you don't have any work on. Now you've also got your quotes and you've got your admin. Now I've mentioned this before on videos where you've got to allow time to do that, but also that time should be chargeable through the business. You've got to allow for that, because you're spending time running that business that you're not actually getting paid for. So allow that into your costings. And don't forget the last little bit, you've got your wear and tear on bits and pieces. You can allow for that in your costings as well. And I will say to you, if you've not got an accountant, get an accountant, because an accountant can save you a lot of money. So all these things that I've just listed, he'll probably say there's this, and this that you can also account for what your business is requiring for the overheads and the running costs. Now, something else that a lot of people forget about, and it's quite an important thing, is your tax and your national insurance. Now, they're personal liabilities that come out of your own profits, but you've still got to allow for that. You've still got to have you've still got to be charging enough to cover them. Now, most decorators end up with a running cost of a business could be between £8,000 and £12,000, depending on how that business runs. But real overheads, once they're honest about it, they will see how much their business is actually costing to run before you've actually stepped onto a job. So if you're charging, I'll just break it down to the simple numbers that I hear a lot of people mentioning. If you're charging £150 a day, but you're taking home only 80 by the time you've taken all your running costs off, you're below minimum wage before you've even thought about time off. So how do you work out actually your rate you should be probably charging out at? Well, here's the simple way to work out your rate. And remember, if you're self-employed, you should be earning more than somebody who's employed on a firm. Winner. A fully qualified decorator working 37 hours a week. You've got no stress. You've got no quoting problems. You've got no chasing of work. You've got your holiday pay, you've got your sick pay, and more than likely there's probably a pension provision as well. They're on round about £36,000 a year. Now you can look this up. You can have a look at some of the councils, some of the bigger employers, some of the bigger companies that are actually offering for somebody in the painting and decorating trade. Now, this can work across the board. If you're in a different trade, you can have a look at what your trade is actually paying if you actually work for somebody as a big organisation. What would you actually get? What are the benefits of actually working for somebody? But if you're not qualified, we've said about that £36,000 a year for somebody qualified working for a firm. But if you're not qualified, you'll be on less, sometimes minimum wage. And again, that's still PAYE with all the advantages of working for somebody. You've not got that stress, you've not got to look for work, and you've not got to run a business because you are PAYE and you are being employed. So we'll say if you are self-employed and you're earning the same or less than someone on PAYE, something's gone wrong somewhere. You need to be adjusting some figures because you should be actually earning more than what you would actually be earning if you work for somebody on PAYE. And that depends on what level you're actually working to. If you are unskilled, you need to set your costs accordingly and work your way up. If you actually are fully qualified, you need to be earning more than that person who's actually working for a firm, don't you? Yes, we hope so. So here's how you're going to work it out. You're going to look at how many days you actually work over the year. And this is normally, we've spoke about this times many, this is normally between about 180 and 220 days a year. You've also got to decide on what you actually want to be earning. Just think about this, because do you want to be earning 35,000? Do you want to be earning 40? Do you want to be earning 45 or more? But bear in mind, what would you be earning if you actually work for somebody? So do that maths accordingly. What do you want to be earning? Now then, you've got to add then in that real business running cost. That's your van, your fuel. We spoke about this. You've got your insurance, you've got your tools, you've also got that holiday, you've got the sick pay, and I know I'm going over it again. You've got your dead days, you've got your quoting, you've got your admin, you've got your wear and tear. And don't forget what I mentioned about your tax and national insurance, that you still need to be earning enough to cover all that as well. And then once you've got those figures all together and you've added them all up, you've got to divide it by those working days. So whatever working days you've actually got between the 180, 220, and I've said it before, you don't want to be working weekends, so work out your days accordingly for proper 5 days a week. You don't forget you've also got those bank holidays as well. Once you've divided that up, that will give you your minimum viable day rate. And this is the day rate. This is the figure that your business is going to be running at just to even stand still. Right, so let's touch on this briefly. Your day rate versus the job price. You don't charge the customer by the day. Nobody earns and makes any money by doing day rate. You've already capped yourself at how much you can be earning a day if you tell a customer what your day rate is. So don't do that. What you need to be doing is charging for the actual job. And I've said it and you've heard me say it before. Charge for the job done and not the time taken, because your day rate is for you. That's your benchmark. That's what you work from, knowing what your business needs to be running from at. You have a day rate to work from. So that day rate is for you and not for them. Likewise, what I'm going to say to you is if you've got a 2-day job that you can actually do in a day because you've got the experience and the skills, you've got the tools that you can actually be very productive with it, You should be earning the same money. Not be, oh, I've done it in a day, I'm only going to charge you a day. That's not how running a business works. You've given the customer a price, you've given them a quote, you've said it's going to cost X, Y, Z, and they're happy with that. Whether you take 1 day, 2 days, 4 days, 20 days, that price is still going to be the same. But if you're running a business, you want to be productive, you want to get the finish, you want to actually get paid. So what are you doing? You're actually selling the finish and not the hours. And again, charge for the job done and not the time taken. Let's talk about one of the things. You know, I'm clearly on social media. I was going to say I'm high profile. I'm not going to say that at all, but I do keep an eye on what's on social media. And I'm going to say the rise. Let's just say the rise of the Facebook and the TikTok and the Instagram painters. Now, this is probably, again, across the board with other trades. Anyone in the UK can buy a brush, make a Facebook page, call themselves a decorator, and even call themselves professional. No qualifications needed. You don't. Anybody can paint. So no qualifications needed and no standard. Nothing. Am I touching a raw nerve with some people? I hope I'm not. I don't want to be rude. So when somebody's charging £100 a day, you see this on Facebook, you see it on Facebook marketplaces, customers think that's the going rate because they too are probably on social media. So they're probably looking for prices and they're probably looking for quotes, and they see these people that are on Facebook, TikTok, on Instagram. They aren't the qualified decorator. They aren't the experienced decorator. They're the ones that just think, you know what, COVID's come, let's start up as a painter and decorator and I'll do £100 a day, because £100 a day to them is £500 a week. That's probably more than they would actually get if they worked for somebody, because do you know what? They don't have that qualification. They've not got that experience and skills to actually command the big money. And this is where it all gets messy, because you've got the decorators with years experience, years and years of experience, who actually know what they're actually doing. They've got the proper prep, they've got the proper systems in place, and they've got the proper finishes you would expect from somebody who knows what they're actually doing. And then you've got the decorators who have been doing it for years. You've heard it times many. I've been doing it for years. I've been in the trade 60 years. I've been in the trade 120 years. I've always done it like that. Those decorators. But they still lack the basics. They still cut corners. They still don't understand substrates or systems. And if you don't know what the word substrate means, I'm going to say just break it down to being surfaces. They don't understand the substrates or the systems. Yet they put themselves on the same level as someone like me, Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator who has actually done an advanced craft city in guilds and fully qualified. You cannot get any more hands-on, experienced, qualified painter and decorator than Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. There are other painters and decorators also very much like me that have got their advanced craft, but there are decorators out there that just because they've been doing it years and years and years, they think they're at the same level as what I am, but clearly they're not. They've not got that piece of paper, have they? But what they say to counterbalance that, you've heard them say it. I've been doing it like it for years. I've never had any comebacks. I've got repeat customers, blah, de, blah, de, blah. I've heard it all before. But just because you've been doing something wrong for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, it doesn't make it right, does it? It just means nobody's actually challenged you to actually what you're actually doing. And what do we say to those decorators that have been saying, I've been doing it for years and years? I know there's a song in there from somebody, Ollie Alexander, years and years, great pop group. But you do get those decorators that come back with the reply, I've been doing it years and years. And yes, somebody will always say, I've been doing this for years and years, never went to college, high standards, repeat customers, booked in for months. And I'm going to say fair play to you, you're doing all right, aren't you? If you're generally producing a high standard of work and your customers love it, that's fantastic, brilliant. You can be cracking on, no issues whatsoever, can you? But your personal success doesn't fix the bigger issue. And you're going to say, what do you mean, Phil? Customers don't ask what qualifications you've got because they don't even know qualifications exist, particularly with the painting and decorating industry. Because you know what it is, anybody can pick up a brush and anybody can paint. And there's many that can actually paint to a high standard. but what are they lacking? They're lacking the actual basics. And this is what customers are coming up against, aren't they? They can't actually tell the difference between the decorator with real training and decorators who they've just been, I'll just say they've been winging it for years and years. But clearly they've been doing it for years and years. So how do you judge that decorator from the one that's like me, that's got their advanced craft sitting skills, and the one that's just been, do you know what, I've learnt it as I've gone along, I've made the mistakes and I've improved. How do we judge that decorator? Well, do you know how the customers judge that decorator? It's on price. It's not on skill. You put in a price in for Mrs. Smith, they're not going to know who you are. What they're going to look at is what that bottom line is, and it's going to be looking at who's going to be the cheapest. And it's the cheapest decorator sets the market. And this is what goes back to the marketplace painters and decorators, the TikTok painters, the Instagram painters that are just advertising to earn that little bit of money, cash in hand for the end of the week, to keep themselves going. They're quite happy at £100 a day, aren't they? But do you know what? They're the ones that are actually earning less than minimum wage. So what are we going to do about it? Yeah, so what are we going to be doing about it? You actually don't worry about what anybody else is doing. What you've got to be thinking to yourself is you're not charging for your time. You need to be charging for your skill. So cut your cloth accordingly to the people who have got skills or not got skills. Charge for the skills that you've got. Charge for your experience. Charge for your prep. Charge for your system, your overheads. And the factor that you're running a business means that it's not a hobby. You're going to be taking everything into account, and you're going to be working with that day rate to actually work out your prices. But if you think your prices are right, but you feel like you're a bit stuck in a rut, I'm going to say to you, just try this one thing. Over the next month, when you go to see customers, whether this be your regulars or new customers, just go in, price it as you normally would, come back, sit down, look at your figures, and just add 10% to what that figure would have been if you'd have stuck with your initial thought. So if that small bedroom is going to be £800, add that 10%, make it 880. If that next little bit bigger room for Mrs. Smith and it's the front room lounge and it was going to be £1,400 with your materials and your labour, it's now £1,540. Just try it, because it's not a huge jump, but it'll show you instantly whether you're still hitting that sweet spot with your regular customers and your repeat customers, and also with the new ones. It will give you a benchmark to see whether you've probably been a little bit too cheap anyway. 10% is not going to make much difference to those figures. Work out your numbers properly. You might already be doing so, but there's some that definitely aren't. Right, thanks for listening to me on this one. This is part one. There's going to be a part two and there's going to be a part three. Now, part two is going to be how do you work out how to price a room up. So that'll be the next video following on from this. Those that are still here, they're probably watching the videos at the side, hopefully. People that are doing me super thanks, thank you. Those that are buying me a coffee, thank you very much. And those that are doing me a hyper, fantastic. Don't forget to give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you've not already done so. I will be having more content like this coming in the next few videos, because I think people need to start looking at how they're running a business, or if they're new to painting and decorating, or even old to painting and decorating, but they've find they're a little bit stuck. I'm here to help.